Awesome. Hello and welcome. Megan here for the fourth part in this live stream series, Birth Your Heaven on Earth. I'm really excited to be here today. Um, Today, this fourth phase that I'm going to talk about is the phase of release. Before I get into that, I just want to thank you for being here. If you're here with me on replay, go ahead and let me know who you are. Drop me a comment. Um, Engage, in this content. It makes it so much more, you know, of a learning experience for you, but also more engaging for me. So, yeah, release is the fourth phase in this process of birthing your heaven on earth. And of all of the phases, I'd say it's the most challenging, for me at least. And I think the most challenging for a lot of people in general, because we're not wired this way. So once you've received your vision, um, once you've built that muscle of trust, once you've held the resolve, now it's time to release. And I'd say in this process, trust and release are probably the two most challenging, release being even more challenging because the release and the surrender is built upon the foundation of trust. So when you try to release and you try to let go, that's when you have a direct mirror and a direct barometer for how deep your trust actually is. Because if it's not fully there, if you're not fully trusting, then it's going to be really hard to let go. So why is it so hard to let go, and why is this so important? So, in the third phase, which is the resolve, that's the phase where you are having that devotional dedication. That was the labor of love and the contraction periods where you're overcoming some of the resistance, where you're overcoming some of the barriers. So if you were to just stay in that phase, what would happen is it would start to be your will controlling. And we live in this universe where we are a combination of human and spirit. And so when you only hold firm to resolve and you only act upon inspired action, then what happens is you're really only tapping into your humanity. And in this third dimensional earthly plane on Earth, there are laws of physics, there is time, there is space, there are these time continuums at play. When you release, what happens is you surrender your egoic individual will and you give that to your higher self, your bigger self, your soul, your spirit, whatever words you want to put on that, which is in essence universe, because your spirit and universe are one and the same. So when you give that over and you relinquish your egoic control to your bigger self, what happens is you are no longer bound to time and to space and to the laws of the third dimension, but you are actually allowing the fifth dimension, which is limitless, it's timeless, it's everlasting, unlimited potential. So when you relinquish your will and you surrender it to thy will, to the bigger self, to the universe, what happens is all of a sudden there are all of these options that your egoic mind could not have dreamed possible, with the conditioning of how you were raised and the conditioning of society, of culture, of ancestral conditioning, all of those things. So there's just so many things at play that formulate your mindset of what you perceive to be possible and real. So this step of releasing and giving it over to your higher self, giving it over to Goddess, is absolutely key in being able to actually birth your heaven on earth, to actually birth, a vision, a creative project, that life that truly lights you up and fulfills you. Because you might think something is perfect for you. You might have always had this dream of what it is that you're supposed to be doing, how it is you're supposed to be doing it. And then you get there and you realize that that actually isn't for you. Have you ever had that experience? I've had that experience like so many times. Um, Oh, I'm so excited you're here today. You say, may the light of our Divine Lady Mary Magdalene shine upon you and your delicate words today. Thank you. I received that blessing. It's been lovely to have you here almost every day. I think you've been here for 3 days. Um, so, in that process of, okay, going back to that story, I really thought that I wanted to do wilderness therapy. Like, I thought that was my mission. I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. I dreamed about it. I thought it was going to be perfect because I loved the outdoors. I loved supporting people in the healing process, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I, received a job where I was actually in a youth worker and family support position in wilderness therapy. I loved it. And I realized that the lifestyle of that reality of being in wilderness therapy in that context did not support me to thrive. But I wouldn't have known that, right? I would not have known that without that experience, because there was that experience of me thinking that that was what was good for me, but then in the lived reality, it actually wasn't what was for me. So when you start to approach your life, instead of only following things that your egoic mind thinks up or sees in the world, but when you start to co-create with your higher self and with Goddess, then you start to receive opportunities and you start to receive expansive views and things that just kind of fall out of the sky, opportunities that you just never would have thought of or heard of. They start to come to you when you actually allow yourself to surrender the control and be open to possibility. And that doesn't mean that it's a disempowerment. So when you release, what happens is you're already a sovereign being. And as a sovereign being, you're saying, I surrender my limited thinking to receive expanded possibility. So it's an empowered surrender to receive support, and that actually empowers your divine self, because your humanity says, okay, I'm going to step aside for a little bit and I'm going to let you take the reins and I'm going to let you steer the ship, because you have a much bigger and expanded viewpoint. Because when you're perceiving from an egoic identity, from your humanity, you really can only perceive from your personality and your lived experience. And when you tap into your divine self, all of a sudden you tap into this wider view that gives you so much more potentiality and options, which is really beautiful. So the reason why this is the hardest is because it's the scariest. There is a leap of faith that is required. And oftentimes in this process, there is the fear that if you relinquish your control, because the ego is there to keep you safe, right? Your ego wants to keep you safe. Your mind wants to keep you safe. So when you let go of that control, all of a sudden there is this spaciousness. Sometimes that spaciousness can feel like emptiness or a void, and it can feel terrifying. It can feel like, a vortex of emptiness, and that can feel terrifying. So when you recognize that that's part of the process of co-birthing, that process of that empty feeling is going to be there, and then you have the capacity to be able to perceive, am I feeling the emptiness as loneliness, as fear, as a hole or something missing, or am I gonna feel it as expansiveness? Because what happens when you empty yourself, then you actually have space to receive. And so when you have the space to receive, and you're giving the permission to your higher self to steer your ship into creating your life in the way that is most aligned for you, so many beautiful things can blossom, and that co-birthing process is fruitful and miracles can happen, synchronicities can happen, gifts, pleasant surprises, all of these things that are just so incredible and fulfilling and nourishing come in. So, in the process of co birthing, when we think about the womb phase, the phases where you're really working with this process of releasing is in two phases, in the gestational phase and in the ecstatic birthing phase. So, the gestational phase is kind of the same. It's like trust and surrender at the same time. That's the phase of working with Mother Mary. That's the phase of um, you receive the vision and then you just kind of let it go. You let it gestate, you let it sit, you let it thrive and create on its own in co-creation with universe. So there is a um, component of releasing in that phase. And then the ecstatic birthing phase. Most pregnant women who have had babies have said that there's always that just final release where you just have to let go. And when you let go, that's when the baby actually comes through. So that's the same thing as with your vision. It's like after you do all of that devotional dedication, you make it through the contractions, you're doing that labor of love, and you're really caring so much. And it's like you care, you care, you care, you love it, you love it, you love it. And then you have to let it go. And you have to trust that goddess, that universe, that your higher self is going to support you, that it's going to hold you. And if it doesn't, if what you want to birth doesn't happen, then there is the trust that, wow, thank goddess, that wasn't supposed to happen because it didn't happen. And there's a trusting in divine timing and synchronicity and the intelligence of your path. So sometimes in that trusting phase, sometimes it doesn't happen. And then there's the willingness to acknowledge that that's okay. And when it does happen, it's an even bigger blessing. It's an even bigger surprise because really we can try to control things and make it happen through our own will and control, but usually that pushes people away, that pushes experiences away. It's a little bit repulsive when you come off really, really strong. It can really push people away. It might draw people in at first or experiences in at first, and then it might push them away. And it's the same thing with birthing and with that creative process. So I'd really love to hear how this lands with you, the 4 different phases that we've talked about. I'd love to hear about what you're co-birthing with universe. I'd love to hear about the direction of your life that you're really wanting things to go in. That would be wonderful to hear. And I also want to let you know that this whole process, we go through in 7 months in Wealthy Goddess. So in that program, co-birthing is one of the pillars of the program. So in a nutshell, Wealthy Goddess is there to support you have mindset and energetic shifts around money, wealth, and your own worth so that you can have the alchemical container, the time, and the support to call in more money, opportunities, and experiences that will help you to birth your heaven on earth, that will help you to live a life that feels nourishing, aligned, joyful, and creates impact. So the whole program takes you through that co-birthing process. And we start with the first gateway of making space. And then, the second gateway moves into gestation. The second gateway moves into conscious conception, where you receive that vision after the space has been created. And then you move into the gestation, you move into the full bloom pregnancy, then into the contractions, into the labor of love, and then into the ecstatic birthing, so that you literally are taking through the birthing process with your womb space to actually birth a life that lights you up, so that actually births your heaven on earth, which is so beautiful. so that it will really take you through that process of being able to have the clarity, the discernment, the drive, and the support to really see your life starting to shape, shift, and change to align with your most essential self. So co-birthing is one of the main pillars. There are 3 other pillars of the program and different tools that support you in that end result of birthing a life that fulfills you. Goddess embodiment is one of those tools. You get a goddess embodiment plan every month as you work with 7 different goddesses, and you have a full month to work with that goddess mentor. And you receive different tools like mantra and chanting, yantra and mudra, and embodiment practices that you can practice every day as a grounding, stabilizing ritual that helps you to connect with your divine light, and also helps you to develop that muscle of faith with goddess as you are devoting to goddess. So that phase is so important. The goddess embodiment pillar is so important because when you're thinking about trying to birth a life that fulfills you, oftentimes things can come up that are limiting in nature. And so when you are holding your vision and your mind to goddess, to beings that embody divine qualities, and you are anchoring into that same frequency inside of yourself, it makes it so much easier to have shifts and to transform and to believe that anything is possible. So the next pillar is alchemy. There are 2 temple ceremonies every month where you get to go through an alchemical process of healing. So what you're healing is inner wounds, past traumas, limiting stories about self, basically anything that's rooted in fear, lack, or scarcity consciousness. The alchemy that is there to support you to heal yourself into wholeness, to embrace yourself into wholeness, so that you are truly valuing yourself. And the last pillar is wealth consciousness. So that really complements the alchemy and the goddess embodiment pillars. And wealth consciousness is all about you being able to hold and embody the frequency of wealth inside of yourself. And when you embody the frequency of wealth, that's what actually magnetizes and draws in the resources. But in order to do that, you really have to attend to your mindset and you have to attend to your energy. So one of the things that really gets in the way for a lot of people in being able to embody wealth is their relationship with money. So every month you get money medicine rituals that are going to help you to heal your relationship with money, that is going to help you hold on to a mindset of wealth consciousness so that you can rise out of scarcity consciousness. And it's a practice. So that's why there's the 7-month container, because really having significant mindset and energetic shifts take time. It takes time to shift. It takes time to change and transform. And so the program is there to give you that container that can support you to have the time to actually go through the process to have those shifts. And when you have those shifts, that what's going to happen as you're healing on the inside and you're connecting to your divine self on the inside, that's going to inform the process of your becoming. That's going to inform what it is that you are destined to live. That's going to inform the birthing process of your heaven on earth. But it always starts with first connecting to your essential self, truly valuing yourself, feeling worthy to receive it, so that you can actually bring it into form. So if this sounds like something that would really nourish you, I'm really excited about it. The last day to officially sign up is actually tomorrow at midnight. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I would love to go into deeper conversation with you about it. I would love to talk about how this program can support you to live a life that feels fulfilling, which helps you to feel expressed, which helps you to feel purposeful, and which helps you to create ripples of change in the world. So anyways, I hope that this whole live stream series has served you, and I would love to talk to you deeper about Wealthy Goddess if that's something that you want to explore with me. So I hope you are having such a beautiful day. Thank you for being here with me, and so many blessings.